I can't remember. Oh, there we go. Okay. Couldn't remember what the books are. It's been a long time since seminary.
You know you love because otherwise we wouldn't be messing with you.
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, it's been a couple of weeks now, we had Ministry Week at Bright Divinity School. Every year in February, they invite retired ministers and other ministers who have been through school or have not gone through Bright but want to take a part in it. And they bring in some speakers and talk. This year there was one from Princeton, one from Yale, one from Columbia, and very progressive and very inspiring. And one of the theme of the week this year was love incarnated, or incarnating love. And they read the first evening service was based on 1 Corinthians 13. And I liked what was said, and that's one of the few chapters of the Bible that I have actually memorized and still have memorized in my head because there's so many neat nuances in there and ideas in there to ponder. So 1 Corinthians 13, give us some background on it. It comes after 1 Corinthians 12. Imagine. Yeah, somebody had a good idea. And Paul is writing to the church in Corinth, which he started, and they're having some difficulty growing up. They're having some difficulties getting along and learning how to be a church and how to let God be the center of this church and Spirit or divine, whatever name, be the center of this. And one of the things they're arguing about is gifts, spiritual gifts. One person speaks in tongues. One prophesies. One has more faith. Someone can heal other people. All these different gifts. And if you can believe it, they're competing with each other. Can you imagine human beings doing that, having spiritual gifts and competing with each other? Well, mine's more important than yours. Well, no. Because if I do this, then this, and if I don't, then you can't do that. Oh, so I should be the one that everybody really respects and loves. And so he's addressing these problems with his, again, he started this church, so he knows all these people. He knows what they're going through, and he's trying gently, and sometimes not so gently, to steer them in the right direction. And so he's saying, listen, all these gifts are from the Spirit. You can't take credit for those. They are just given to you. And each one is equally as important as the other one. So get along. Learn to share this and this kind of stuff. And then he says, at the end of chapter 12, he says, and I will show you still a more excellent way. I will show you a more excellent way. And then he launches into 1 Corinthians 13, which, of course, is the love chapter. And he starts off saying, if I prophesy, if I'm working in tongues, and I can speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but if I don't love, I'm like a noisy, clanging cymbal or a gong. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I can't hear you, and I can't understand you. Or if I understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so I can move a mountain when I tell it to, but I don't have love, then I'm nothing. So all that power, all that amazing ability means nothing unless I love you, unless I come here and I love, because that's the core of it all. That's the core of it all. And so he's saying, look at your gifts. And he says, if I give away all that I have to be charity, and I give my body to be burned because of my faith, but I have not love, I gain nothing. I gain nothing. So it's like, look at your gifts, understand and appreciate. I mean, wow, Spirit is working in you. Spirit is working in you, and you're adding to our congregation. You're adding to our group here to make it better. But understand that the core of this all is love. Love your neighbor. Love each other as equals, and share in this time, and rejoice in the fact that Spirit is among us and is doing this thing. Not that we are, but that Spirit is among us doing this thing, and we get to cooperate, we get to enjoy the flow of energy, the flow of love, and live. And so then he starts in on describing, well, what is love? What is love? That can be a nebulous term, variously understood. And so he starts off saying, love is patient. Love is kind. One of the things they said, the preacher the first night, Monday night, said when they were talking about this was that most of the time when we read this chapter it's because there's a wedding. You know, it's because there's a wedding going on. And I've used this several times when I've done weddings to talk with the couple, because those first two especially, love is patient, love is kind. There's going to be some imperfection, okay? There's going to be some things that you don't quite both understand at the same time. And what I love about the word kindness is that it is the total opposite of nice. When I'm nice, I'm pretending that everything is okay. I'm pretending that nothing is a problem and everything is I'm just nice. Isn't it nice? Isn't it nice? Kindness, on the other hand, says, I know. I understand imperfection. I understand this human being thing that we are. And I know there's going to be mistakes made. There'll be hurts done. I know this. And I love anyway. And I'm willing to love anyway. That's kindness. That's kindness. That full understanding of each other, of ourselves. That's the other thing. A full understanding of ourselves and each other, and says, I'm going to love anyway. I'm going to love myself. Even though I know tomorrow I'm going to step on my toe and do something that's not quite perfect. I'm sure, well, I think we all know that experience. And so it's love is patient and love is kind. And it goes on to say that love does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. Again, with kindness, the same thing. I'm not insisting that it happen my way. I'm not insisting that it happen my way. And it goes, the next two words are important, irritable and resentful. When I'm irritable, it means I want something to happen my way now. And it's not happening my way now. And so I'm going to stomp my feet and pound my cup on the floor and be irritable until it does happen that way. Most of the time, it doesn't. And so I'm left pounding my foot and my cup on the floor for a good while, irritable, and just ruining and wasting the time that I could have had. And so it says, when I'm in love, I don't do that. I don't have to insist on my own way. There's that energy, there's that power inside that says, that's not a gift to be wanted. That's not a gift to be envied, to have my own way. Instead, I get to share. I get to share. And love is not resentful. And resentful means that in the past, I have not had my own way, and I remember. I remember. I can show you a list of those things, and by number, and by day, and by person, of those things that happened that I didn't want to have happened, but were done anyway. Boy, that's a miserable way to live. That is a miserable way to live. And what love frees us up to do is to let go of that resentment. Resentment, it can be just defined as re-feeling all these old feelings, re-feeling the hurts that have happened to us in our lives, and reminding ourselves, and most of the time when we do it, I think we do it because we're afraid. We're afraid of right now. We're afraid we're not going to have enough. We're afraid we're not enough for this right now. And so we protect our hearts. We protect ourselves by armoring up and saying, I was hurt. No, I'm not going to be, it's not going to happen again. It's not going to happen again. And so we miss out. We miss out on what life could be because we are lost in this keeping score and remembering all those things that have happened before. And in the last paragraph, it talks about love never ends. As for prophecies, they will pass away. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will pass away. For our knowledge is imperfect, and our prophecy is imperfect. But when the perfect comes, the imperfect will pass away. And that is the core of our ability to love, is to recognize we don't know. Our knowledge is imperfect. We don't know. And most of the time when I'm upset, it's because I think I know what the right thing should be. I think I know what should be happening here, and it's not. And so I'm getting irritable or I'm getting resentful. And what he's saying here is we don't know. It's imperfect. Our knowledge is imperfect. We're trying. We're having ideas. We're moving forward and that kind of stuff. But we've always got to recognize, again, it's human. And so it's imperfect. Our prophecies are imperfect. The use of tongues is imperfect. Our knowledge of who the divine is, of who God is imperfect. We don't know. And when let myself understand that, it is a freedom to love. It is a freedom to love because I'm not so afraid that somebody else is going to find out that they know and I'm going to have to be taught. And so when I can live with the fact that really nobody knows, that we're all in here doing the same thing, plugging away with imperfect knowledge, imperfect love, imperfect beings, and just doing what we're supposed to be doing, living our lives. And then he talks about when I was a child, I spoke like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I gave up childish ways. There are two important, I think, distinctions here when I read this. The two different words, childish and childlike. There are childish ways that I have. I looked it up in the dictionary in different places online and stuff. What does it mean to be childish? Well, throwing tantrums. I want my way right now, and I want it, and if not, I'm gonna cry and fall on the floor and throw a tantrum. Now, as adults, of course, we don't do that anymore. Because that's a childish thing to do. And so we have gone beyond that most of the time. But he's saying, move beyond this, whatever. The other thing is impetuosity. Again, I'm going to do something right now. I'm going to do something right now. Think about it. No. I'm going to do something right now. I've had to be reminded throughout in my life is that joining the circus is not a good idea. It's not something that I would be good at or that I really want to do. I'm thinking the guy in the cannon, they get the boat, the cannon, whatever. And fortunately, I'm not so impetuous that I just run off with that idea. Somebody helps me see that maybe you're not really cut out for that. Maybe that's not your future. But when I'm a child, I do that. I act impetuously. All kinds of different things, and I'm drawing a blank on the rest of them. But the childish things that I do, impatience, petulance, when I'm just, again, it's a good thing that we get beyond that, that we're never really petulant anymore, and we're never really doing all these things that we did when we were children that were negative. And he says, I moved beyond that. But I think it's important to look at this and say, when I became an adult, I get to stay childlike. And I looked up the thing about childlike, and Jesus said in Matthew, let the children come to me. Because unless I have the mind of a child, I'm not going to see heaven. I'm not going to see God in life. And one of the things that it talks about that are being childlike are innocence. And it doesn't mean I don't know evil. It doesn't mean that I don't know that things go wrong and people get hurt. It means, and again in Matthew it says, I'm going to be wise as a serpent, but innocent as a lamb. I know that those things happen. I don't have to indulge in them myself. And I can recognize when it's being done, being patient, being loving in that situation, but maintain that innocence that says, I don't know, and be a part of life that way. The other one is playfulness. We've seen groups of kids together, maybe out in a field with no adult supervision. They're just running everywhere. And they're laughing, they're giggling, they're jumping up in the air, just in constant energy. And nobody is keeping score. Nobody is wondering who's winning at this, who's jumping highest, who's doing this thing the best. It's not until we adults get with these kids and say, we need to figure out who's best. We need to play this game for points, not just to have fun, because you can't keep track of who do we give the trophy to? Who do we give the trophy to if we don't keep score? But as a childlike, I can play. I can play and not keep score. I can play and just because I enjoy it, because I want to do it. When I watch, a friend of mine likes to say that if there's a ball involved and they're keeping score, Scott wants to watch. That's probably true to a large extent. But one thing I find is that I enjoy watching other teams play more than my team. Because when my team's playing, I'm win, instead of enjoying the fact that wow, look at that play. Oh, look at that. And the other team makes a play. Oh, wow, that's great. Look at that. And we get to watch them play and see the beauty and the artistry of sport and of playing. And so when I can stay there, when I can give up that need to be right, that need to be the winner, the one that needs to go home with the trophy so everybody knows I'm just a little, we're almost even. We're almost even, but I have the trophy. And we can get caught up in wanting to have that and give up that childlikeness that says, just play. I've got all this energy that just wants to play. What's going to happen with it? I don't care. I just want to play. I find that in my art a lot. When I sit down in front of a canvas and I just splash and I just dance with the canvas with no idea, if I start with this is going to be an important painting. This is going to be a really good painting. It's like, no, it doesn't work. I've got to let myself play and be playful. The other thing that childlike is wonder and awe. Wonder and awe. Maggie, when she was in the Air Force, helped deliver babies. And that look in their eyes when they first come out, like, wow, what is this? What is this? And just the whole wonder, whole act of wonder. And so for so many years of our life, all these new things, wow. And what happens, I think, is something starts to frighten us. Something starts to say, I don't know that I want to be that open to that much wonder, because it just, when it doesn't turn out to be what I thought it was going to be, it can hurt. But if I let myself be wonder, if you looked out the sky this week, Thursday night, at about 6 or 6:30, the clouds were just an amazing array. And it was creating all these ins and outs and moves and stuff. And then the sun started setting and adding that crimson touch to all the clouds. And it's like, wow. And it was just a dance in the sky. And when I'm chewed up with what's going on in Scott's world, and what am I thinking now, and what do I got to be paying attention to, I miss that. Or I look it up and go, yeah, okay, clouds. Yep, there being clouds, I've looked at clouds from both sides. Anyway, and then Friday afternoon, somewhere around 3:30 or 4, I was driving somewhere, and there's just silky, filled with all the clouds, just filled the sky and looked like big silky bags, and just, again, an amazing array in the sky. And I like to paint clouds. And at times I've wanted to capture that very picture. What a beautiful picture these clouds are. And the voice inside says, be like the clouds. Just play. Don't try to copy or make it look like that so it looks perfect and this kind of stuff. Let yourself play. Create your own clouds. Let it just happen. And so the childlikeness, the wonder and the awe, when I can be in wonder and awe, I'm way ahead. I'm way ahead because, again, there's just an energy when I'm there. There's an energy that I can let flow. There are times when I might try to squelch it, again, because I'm more sophisticated than that, you know. I'm not anybody's fool. That's great, that's clouds, you know, I'm glad you're enjoying that. I don't think you're making any money at that right now, but I'm glad that you are enjoying it. And so maintaining that sense of wonder and awe can be crucial in us knowing this life that is spirit-filled, that is the divine. And so he says to be childlike rather than childish. And then he says, for now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall understand fully, even as I have been fully understood. Another version says fully known. That is such a relief. That is such a heart warmer for me, to know that I am fully known. I am fully understood. Again, that kindness that love shows me. It's like the divine knows all, you know. Every once in a while I try to think, oh, I'm not going to let God know I'm thinking that. You know, I got to hide that. I'm not really doing that. No. We're thinking good things. The kindness is shown because I'm fully understood. I'm fully understood. And that frees me up. That frees me up because if I'm spending all kinds of energy trying to be good, I'm lost. I'm lost. And life becomes pretty much a drudgery. And I've been there. That is just, there is no energy. There's no input. There's no relating to other people because I'm afraid that I'm going to do something wrong and something's going to happen and God's going to say, nice try. Nice try. We'll go with George instead, but thanks for trying. Thanks for trying. Instead, we are all fully understood and fully loved. And that's the beauty. When I realize that very thing, that I am fully known, I'm fully understood, then again, I'm free to love. And that love, boy, it always wants to be outgoing. It always wants to be pouring forth. When I'm filled with love, I'm just naturally gregarious. I'm just naturally engaging with other people and working with other people and that sort of thing, laughing. Boy, if I'm not in love, I don't laugh. I have that ha ha, you know, that kind of a cynical ha ha laugh, whatever. But when I'm letting love guide my life, I get to have those belly laughs. I get to have those giggles that sometimes go out of control, and you just say, oh, hush, and you just get lost in moments of just giggling. We enjoy that a lot at home. And that love is constantly flowing. The love is constantly, it is a giving thing, both giving to us. It is what air is. It is what life is love. And when we tap into it and allow it to be all that we are and touch all that we are, life just becomes so much bigger. Life just becomes so much more enjoyable. And I find myself doing things I never anticipated doing. The idea of being known, fully known. When I look back at my life, there were times when I was trying to run away from life and just say, you know, I'm doing my thing, you just go out and saying, you know, flipping God off and just say, you just go do what you want to do, I'm going to do what I want to do. And life, Spirit, the divine God, responded by saying, I love you. I love you. And when I was in my early 20s, I reached a point where I just was saying, this isn't worth it. I'm you know. And so I went to join the Air Force because I didn't have any money. I was broke, didn't have any money, and I needed to finish college. And so I said, I'm going to go join the Air Force. I'll be miserable for 4 years guarding airplanes and that kind of thing, and then just have my college money. Thank you. And that's my picture of life. That was my picture of how, and instead, life came along and said, I joined it in Detroit in August of '81. And it just so happened that in August of '81, anybody who signed up in Detroit for the Air Force got all their student loans paid off. The Air Force just paid them off, and I had some. They just paid those off. And then there's a, what they call VEAP at that point, a Vietnam era education program. They had money for college, to help pay for college when you got out. And you contributed an amount, and the Air Force matched that amount each month that would contribute. So that up to a certain amount, you could have that. Well, in August in Detroit, when you signed up for the Air Force, they funded the whole account. They funded the whole account. So I just stumbled into this. And again, I'm like, okay, just, that's great. That's great. Now just make me a cop. You know, let me go be an airman. And the guy said, you know what? We looked at your grades on your tests. You did really well on those tests. We think you might be a good linguist. I had no idea. What? I took French in school. It was me in a class of the rest of all girls. So I did not focus much on language. There were distractions. I was 15 or 16 years old, and as you can understand, that there were distractions. So no idea that foreign languages were a pleasure for me, let alone something I could do. And so they said, we want to run you through a few tests. And so they ran me through 3 different tests. 2 of them were actual languages. And they'd say, this is a noun, this is a verb, and they'd throw a sentence at you. They say, what did I say? Did I use a verb there, or did I use a noun? And I don't remember all the ins and outs of the test. But then the last one was a totally made-up language. It didn't exist. And they said, this is a noun, this is a verb, and they throw a sentence at you. And if you could figure out, figure out what they were saying, what they were doing, you had the gift. You were good with languages. And so I did. I passed these tests. And so instead of going through drudgery of 4 years guarding airplanes, they sent me to Monterey, California. I had to live a year in Monterey, California, okay? I want you to know, yeah, sacrifice. But for a year, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week of Arabic, just learning. And I just fell in love with it. Today, there's a place in my brain that only gets tickled when I start playing with foreign languages. That's the only thing that will tickle that part of my brain. So the wonder and the awe, being open to that and saying, wow, I've been fully known. Life knew me all along. I didn't know I wanted to do that. I didn't know. And I was just willing to just shove life aside and just let me make money and let me take care of myself, let me make myself secure in life. And life said, there's more. I know who you are, and I want you to discover that. I know who you are, and I love you, and I want you to discover that. And that is the case for each of us today. We are fully known. We are fully loved. And we get to know that on a daily basis as we open our hearts and let that wonder and awe, let that innocence, let that playfulness be there.